Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. A little bit of transfer news for you all on this, this fine evening, but this video might come out in the morning, to be fair. But it is all the latest stuff, so don't worry anyway. Chelsea have been linked with a number of players to potentially come in and join the squad in the summer. Some of which I understand, some of which not really. We're going to dive into a couple of them and just see what's going around, really. First of all, starting off with Anthony Gordon. Now, this is according to Mark Douglas of the iPaper, who's a Northern football correspondent. It says Anthony Gordon is not playing like the £80 million player that he thinks he is. And it goes on towards the end of the article to speak about Newcastle's PSR situation. Now, we know that Newcastle last year were in a bit of a situation where they had to sell some players. We heard that they might have to get rid of Alexander Isak, potentially some of their best assets, right? They didn't want to do it, but they may have had to do it in order to comply with the profitability and sustainability rules. Now, as it stands, they don't have any pressing FFP issues right now. But the feeling is, according to, Mark Douglas, that this is something that could become prevalent in the next season or so. Now, Anthony Gordon signed a new long-term contract that runs until 2030. But he is perhaps one of the players that makes the most sense to sell if a suitable offer is put on the table. Chelsea aren't the only club that are being linked with him. Arsenal are being linked with him as well. And it is thought that there is to be a price tag of around £80 million on him. I'll be honest with you, I don't really understand that price tag. I'm not sure why 80 million is the number being chucked around for Anthony Gordon. Don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but he's not a great player. He's not a bad player, but he's an all right player. He's a decent player. He's played 33 times in the Premier League. He's scored 6 and he's got 6 assists as well. So 12 GA in 33 games, plays the majority of minutes for Newcastle. Scored a couple in the cups as well. Yeah, he's a decent player. Is this the player that is going to change Chelsea's fortune and bring us from being a potential Champions League side to a team challenging for the title? Or does he really level us up? I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, I'll be honest with you. If I had to pick between Anthony Gordon and a player like Jadon Sancho, maybe I would. We don't have the best options in terms of wingers, and obviously not having Mykhailo Mudryk available certainly doesn't make that any easier. But we've got Tyreek George coming through, and there's just better ways that we can invest that money, to be quite frank. So for me, 80 million for a player like Anthony Gordon, it's a big no. It's a big no from me, and I don't think there's any truth to it either. I honestly think it's a bunch of nonsense. Now, we've also had some news coming out from Football Insider, who've been very prevalent over the past couple of weeks. And it said that João Pedro tells his friend he wants to join Chelsea after, quote, speaking to people, whatever the hell that means. It says he's confessed his desire to join Chelsea this summer after the Blues joined the race for his signature. Now, I don't know if there's any truth to this whatsoever, but it's also saying that we're interested in the player. We've been linked with a number of strikers, a couple of them. You've probably seen the names going around. Liam Delap is one of those players. We'll speak briefly about Delap in a second. It says that Chelsea have been looking at signing a new striker. This is according to a scout or a former scout. What's his name? Brown. Fuck knows. Honestly, some of these sources are just crazy. It says they're not completely satisfied with the ones they've got at the moment. and they want someone who can provide a regular source of goals. João Pedro is one I know they've looked at, but there are doubts about his goal-scoring record. There's certainly a player there, and at his best, he can be excellent, but at his worst, he won't be. Personally, I have doubts about whether he would be an improvement for a team like Chelsea, and I know those doubts are shared. I hear he's spoken to people around him about a move, and he would be interested in Chelsea. He wants to make a step up from Brighton as they're going to miss out on European football again. It's just a case of whether they decide he's the right man for the job. I'll be honest, again, it's just not a player that I'm interested in. João Pedro's stats aren't bad, just like Anthony Gordon. They're not bad, but it's not good enough. He's got 17 GA in all competitions, playing 30 games. That isn't a real upgrade for me on Nicholas Jackson. But the other thing is, if you're not going to give me a significant upgrade in terms of GA, give me a different profile, give me a different option, something totally different. And look, of course, he's different to Nicholas Jackson. No two players are exactly the same, but I don't see enough to justify buying this player. And when you hear about the money as well that's being linked for him, it says that on the 18th of May, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Arsenal that's when they were interested in signing João Pedro. And the Seagulls, meaning Brighton, will demand around £70 million for his signature. Let me repeat that, all right? The Seagulls will demand around £70 million for his signature. Now, don't get me wrong. We've done some business with Brighton, some of which you would say is good business, some not so good. We obviously signed Graham Potter. We took Paul Winstanley, Sam Jewell as well, another area of recruitment at Chelsea. These are all people that we took from Brighton. And in terms of that side, especially Paul Winstanley and Sam Jewell, you can make your decision about them, those people coming into the club, whether you like them or not. We also signed Moises Caicedo and Marc Cucurella for a lot of money, over 150 million combined for those two players. And people say we were getting ripped off, especially when they weren't performing straight away. But that turned out to be great business. All right. Those were hot players, seriously hot players. You saw Caicedo. Everyone wanted Caicedo. Man City were competing for Cucurella with us. We beat Man City because they thought that's too much money for a left back. Turns out we've got one of the best left backs in the league. When I see that £70 million number being floated around, this is the same amount that you would get Victor Osimhen and Gyökeres and Sesko and all these other guys. And you're telling me you want to spend that money on another player from Brighton. So big thumbs down from me. No chance. No chance that we get anything to do with Anthony Gordon for 80 million. He's also on 150 grand a week, by the way, Anthony Gordon. That doesn't fit into our wage structure. I don't think he's worth paying an extra 20 grand more than Cole Palmer. That doesn't work. And then 70 million for João Pedro. I mean, I think it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy as well. A little update as well regarding Christopher Nkunku. According to Plettigol, Bayern Munich are still monitoring Nkunku's situation and remain in contact with his management. However, nothing is advanced at this stage. Other top clubs are also interested in Nkunku. We've heard Arsenal's name being floated about. Liverpool as well, another team that have looked potentially at getting Delap, but nothing concrete as it stands. Now, going back to Liam Delap, a player we mentioned briefly earlier, he is Man United's first choice striker. He's their top choice. He's their number one. They don't want anyone else. They want Liam Delap. They've been linked with Victor Gyökeres because obviously Amorim did work with Gyökeres when he was at Sporting. He did a great job there. But it seems like the Ipswich striker is the player that they want. And I think it's most important, it's a realistic deal, right? They can get that done, especially if they beat Tottenham in the Europa League final. Now, from a Delap perspective, he's not making any decisions right now because he wants to see what happens over the last couple of games, who's going to get Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, etc. That presumably will impact his decision. And no surprise about that. I don't think there's any problem with that. It says in this particular article, this is by Give Me Sport as well, by Ben Jacobs. It says that he hasn't gone as far to tell clubs the lack of European football is a deal breaker, but it is believed to be an important factor. It's because he wants to play in Europe in the 25-26 season to boost his 2026 World Cup chances. So he wants to play for England. Another thing that impacts the Delap deal as well is that a return to the Northwest is also of appeal to Liam Delap, who started his career at Man City. And this is something we've heard before. He would rather move up north to Manchester. He just prefers that part of the country. And there's been a number of deals that I can think of over the years where players have had to choose between moving up north or down south in London. And to be fair, we've been the beneficiaries of living in a very nice part of London. But in this case, it looks like Liam Delap would probably favour Man United, if I'm being honest. And if I had to put money on where he went, I want Delap. I think Delap would help us. I think if we sign off someone, we could probably still get Delap and then probably send Mark Guiu out on loan somewhere, and we'd have great striker options. I think it'd be fantastic for us. But when you look at what United offer, especially if they do get Champions League football, they've got a great manager with Ruben Amorim. I think Delap suits that style of play. They probably end up paying more wages than we would. He's guaranteed to be their number one striker, not necessarily if he comes to Chelsea. He'll be competing with Nicholas Jackson, and he prefers that part of the world as well. So, I think Man United have a lot of advantages when it comes to that deal for Liam Delap. They're not expected to make a move for Victor Osimhen. That's a player that we're obviously being linked with. But when I hear the money that's going for Osimhen, I don't think the fee's a problem, but I'm hearing like 13 million net, which means about 400k, over 400k a week before tax in England. That's a lot of money, guys. You have to admit that is a lot of money. But if you want to get the deal done, you get the deal done. But I do think there needs to be a compromise on both sides, not just Chelsea, but also Victor Osimhen as well. According to Plettigol as well, Frankfurt will demand 100 million euros for Hugo Ekitike this summer. He is a striker who's playing for them. Haven't really heard too much about his name in recent days, but it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Listen, if we get anything, if we get a top striker, I don't really care. But obviously there's top strikers and there's top strikers, your Osimhen, your Gyökeres, etc. Those are obviously our preferences. But the reality is Chelsea need to spend some money to improve this team anyway. It's just a case of who we bring in. My opinion is there's a good chance we can get the lap. But if United get Champions League football, I think they probably edge it on us for reasons we've just spoken about. So maybe you just have to put your chips in on Osimhen. He's an expensive option, but not a bad player at all either. These are all things to be considered. So let me know, guys, if you agree or disagree with any of the news that's come out. Is there any players you'd rather sign than others? And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And I look forward to giving you some more news updates over the next couple of days. All the best, guys, and we will catch up very